Assalamu alaikum, and today is the 6th of the July, and this is Advocate Gulraiz Gig. And last night, basically, I was whole night I was dating, and during the 5th of the July, I was basically observing the questions and the targets of the local residential issues of the Pakistan. I was reserved with those points. The political embezzlements in the Pakistan and the hate speech in the Pakistan and the culture of the magnetic hate speech and offline hate speech. These were some topics which should have been understood by the central litigant in interest in Pakistan. When I just observe the multipolar cause negated individuals, I'm totally out of my wages of senses. I said that I'm totally out of my wages of senses. When I just observe the ultimate oppression under the depressed senses in Pakistan, that the culture of the monopolies while having the income and expenses of the other person and raising to be the very fine thing. The corrupt individual in the Pakistan have the habit in their blood genes that they are not in the positions to observe the issues of the others, they are in the positions to dictate the others. This is my point. Now we have to observe that after observing the decaying position of the females in the Pakistan, this is a question which should have been understood by the central litigant entrusted individual in the Pakistan, that why the females of the Pakistan are not in the positions to observe the same. Then I'm into the positions that the question of the females and the males in the Pakistan appears to be the next point, which is not being observed by either side. I have invested a lot of capital amount of the time investment, and then I observed that the whole depiction of the facts. I observed that when you are not in the positions to run the affairs of any site, inside your houses and outside your houses, you always say that the raising of the burden to the other side and having no proper length of control. When I said that the length of control in the Pakistan is a tool which is not being observed by any side, the utmost desires of the females and the males of the Pakistan are and were being led them into the public gutters. And despite of considering the question of the public modesty, what they come up with the thoughts of negation. When we at the central Pakistani are not willing to understand the issues of any second person, third person, then why the hell the other or second person is willing to understand ours? We are in this set conversant manipulated hopes, the Pakistani especially. When I observe these points, I'm totally out of my senses that what is being done with the same in fact. And you can see that the newscasters and the telecasting operators which have no idea that why they are into the habit of considering the elements of operative tranny and other factors as well. The Trianist group of the individuals in the Pakistan have an inherited curse. They are into the habit of considering nothing, and they are into the habit of decreasing the amount of the fiscal negations to the others and optimizing the sense of wisdom from the others. So when I just observe these sort of the criminals misappropriated assets one, and the when I just apply the NAB section 20, their assets are being burned. When I apply the section 20 of the NAB ordinance, their assets are being burned out of the public modesty because they don't know, they don't have any idea that from where from they are generating and where from they are renovating the amounts of the equalizing to their capital salaries. The Pakistani most often of the criminals in association with their females. I said the Pakistani most often of the times in association with their females within their houses are and were charged with the sexual outstroking, with having the amounts of the You can say that the condoms, they are into the habit of having the condoms, and after having the condoms they are selling the religion in the same condom. I condemn that condom which you wear in your houses, and after that you said that we were celebrating that. If your females were very condiment and she is requiring a long dick, you bastard criminal religious, better stay off from my plane. If any person who is stinking around and saying that we were very religious and you were religious, then who the hell you are? These are some points which should have been understood by the Republicans themselves. Today, you can observe in the public sector that the art of selling of the religion is a civil perjury crime which is not observed by anyone, which I am observing. The cases of the adolescent in the central limitation of the Republic of the High Court and Supreme Judicial Council is another question which is not being observed by either side. The females having no rest amount of the capital uh, livings are just dying out of the public necessity in the public sector, and their parents are saying that we have grown you in the religious lines. When a parent is saying that he had grown his female or male in the religious line, then it would not be accommodated under the equity rights of the operational league in any central limits of the Pakistan or in any international court of justice. When I observe that the females have no proper length of control of the economic corridor in their houses, then I come up with the next thought that the females are the enemy of the females in Pakistan, the hate culture in the females. Because I felt it with very sorrowful event when I just apply my legal anomalies in the central lines, that the question of the Republicans are very drastic and very disaster these days inside their houses, outside their houses, and in their official mandate because of the outdated, populated, non balanced control. I just invent that term as well. The question which I just revoked myself, that after rebirth or reoriginating the females, the question of the having the proper custodial matters should have been considered by the uh, legacy of the same. But the question which I always told myself, that the females and the males, both sectors are not in the proper panel of the length as well. Then I confined with another thought that the reproductive disorder and dysfunctional issues inside their bodies. I observed that the Pakistanis are suffering from the reproductional issues and they don't have any idea. When they're suffering from reproductive issues, they are trying to cleanize their tongue with the other sense of poison, which I not willing to understand any side of that point. So the question which I rotate with myself is a question of the landmark judicial obligation in the Supreme Judicial Council by myself, that the embezzlement of the public issues and the raising of the capital amount in the public sector is a question which is not being observed by any point in the Pakistani. The Pakistanis are so absurd by their self that they are into the virtual obsessive traumas, and they are not in the point of the observing their own skins. The question of embezzlement of the public rights, and after saying that we were providing you in a, the blame game and the copy words copy intake in is another issue in the crime criminal misappropriated in the Pakistan. I face and I am facing these issues by myself. The question of the negation of the optimal issues in the external one by the cost management and accountant of the chartered accountants in Pakistan. I found that the chartered accountants in Pakistan are and were charged in the offense of Section 20, reporting of the suspicious activities, and their managers also fall this category because they are not compiling those documents in perfection. So the judicial officers will profound them behind the ultimate aggressive channels to let off their property in the barbaric channels of the NAB and the FIA. Because we, the Republicans, original residency of the Pakistan, while having the NAB report through the FIA report, that the issues of the central descendant of the same, while having the antecedent, they are suffering from descendant and antecedent issues in the Pakistan. I observed this issue by myself. So when you just ask any question to them, they just prepare with a compulsive mode of their high temperament for their self. I said that compulsive mode of assessment for the high temperament for the bodies. And when I just observed that their bodies are differed from the amounts of the glorified magnitude, and then what I observed the best judgment in the self-control confront applied methods. I always congest these points very roughly, but it should have been the question of the civil discrepant behaviors and the question of the central divisional non-litigated interest as well. The question of the capital shares and the capital co-accused. The question of the ultimate aggressions while after committing the crime. I said that after committing a crime, it is also seen that the criminals, habitual criminals, always take the shelter plea of the aggression under the sign of their sexes. I found this offense as well. First, they are into the habit of considering the sexist crime in the name of the polygamy and trigamy and hexagamy, and after that, they are into the habit of considering the same manipulative tool to be their task to get associated with the same. And when the other person is highly skilled with the knowledge base, they said that you and I, these questions should be restored by ourselves. Why they are just relocating the other person with themselves with a question which they are not willing to extend to their self. The criminal Pakistani, 99% Pakistani bastard females and males of the same, in fact. When I just construe the proper lines of their parents and their mothers inside their houses, what I come with the next thought that the overproduction of their females and after raising the name of the Islam and the Christianity, this would be deferred in my civil perjury court. They always find in the civil perjury offense, and when I ask them that you are in the civil perjury, they say that this is not your way to. So when you talk with an absurd bastard Pakistani old man, what he will his mother, let's oppose it. This bastard who is shrieking out of my alley. Because why he's shrieking? Because he have produced a lot of females and now he don't have any income. Now that's why he's shrieking. And the load of his shrieking disclosed to me that he is intoxicated. So the question which I observed that the Pakistani females and the males are criminals in inheritance. Their blood cells by inheritance are in the crime and defection. So what to expect out of their mothers and fathers? That is not a question now. So these baseline questions should have been addressed by the other side, by the other party, by the sectarian groups of the hate speech of their self, but the sectorials of the same in the sectors of the NAB and the FIA. I recommend that the NAB and FIA joint teams would be applied in the whole of the Lahore, so that I'm trying to confine the point that where from the Lahore is having the properties, because they don't have any property. The Pakistanis and the Lahoris don't have any income in their banks. How they rotate the incomes out of their bank and expenses, I should acknowledge this in the Supreme Judicial Council. All of the residents of the Lahore are under the Article 184, Clause 1 2, that to file their answers in my Supreme Judicial Council court that where from they originating the properties, because they don't have any amount in their banks by raising the prostitution in the Islam name. I'm not willing to understand that. If you are raising the prostitution in the Islamic way, then I'm not, as a Supreme Judicial Officer, I'm not willing to understand any side of the same fact. The question, when I observe the civil perjury into the Muslims decline deferred payments, they always aggress with the other congestive thought of the same. In fact, I'm not willing to address any question of the doubts to the same. In fact, the question of the resilience to the public side is a question now. They always come forward in the religion when their ashes are being burned. This is my favorite idiom. When a Pakistani's ash is being burned, they are into the habit of considering the religion, but they don't consider the other person to be the religious one. This is my personal sorrowful emote. The question which I take with the public shelter, that the public is so uh, repelled with the consignment of their self, that they are into the habit of considering the others to be the puppets, and while considering the others to be puppets, they bastard criminals under the hate speech of their families while selling off their bodies in the name of the religious institutions. I'm not willing to extend myself into the habit of any considerable point of the same. In fact, why to resolve the issues of the bastard Pakistani? I'm not into the considering of those issues as a supreme judicial officer. The bastard criminal Pakistani, 99%, have to sell their religion in their washrooms. They will sell their religion in their washrooms because they are selling every religious verses. While I observe these questions throughout the decade I control that their females are stinking out of the religion. Their children are decaying in the position of the decayed verses of the same. When I just multiply the aggressive tool of the same, they try to hide beside the aggression because they are manipulated by the same, and they're not having the defenses of the same. Their females, their males, both sides are criminal from the inheritance, from their child birth ratio. They are in the sodomist by production, and they expect the modesty. Sodomist and the Islam in the Pakistan is the next point which I'm raising today. When I observe the amounts of the uneducated and non-accompanied females, non-succeeded one, the successor in interest in the Pakistan, all of these questions comes in the Pakistan that these sodomist Pakistanis, when don't have the sodomy right, their males are in the sodomy activities. What to expect out of the same in the facts? Their females are in the habit of sodomies. They always take the shelter of the ignorance to the other, and they always bark. Whenever you talk with them, they bark like a dog and bitch. I take a Pakistani on my dick. I take them nothing on the face of their record as a prime social officer of the town. So the question, when I just observed that they are into the habit of sex deferred strokes, and after that having the pills. 99% Pakistanis are in this habit, and they said to other side to follow the Islam. Fuck up, fuck your mother. Go. You don't have the idea that the whom you are dealing with, you bastard. I'm fucking with you by yourself. I'm not interested to understand yourself. The question, when I observe that your females are dying and you are selling the religion in the public gutters, ashamed of yourself. And when a person like me who is not willing to have your female, you are trying to control him by raising the religion and other verses, but the other person is not interested. You don't have any idea about that as well. So the question, when you, the central defamed Pakistani, are selling hate speech, I apply in the whole of the Lahore houses that there would be no petition that would be allowed in the Supreme Judicial Council because of their household console deferred amounts of the females, their females deferred amounts, their males deferred in the religion, in the official mandate, and they raise the blame game into the contravention of the insights of the other. They are not into the habit of considering the others to be the humans. I'm not considering any Pakistani on my dick, even anyone. So they'll see, they'll cry for their life out of the public sector because I have the lordship. I'm not willing to understand any bastard Pakistani of Pakistan because they are raised in the hate culture, and they are selling the hate culture over and over and over and over and over and expecting the best result out of the same. Their females are nullified. They're abused, abducted, and mutilized females have no value in my judicial eyes because I observe these issues. And I'm not highly tempered with myself. I observe these issues by myself from decades. And their females are getting married when they don't follow any, when they're out dying out of the public necessity. Their females are trying to convince themselves with the law of science. They don't have any idea that the powerful and the rich persons are not interested in Pakistani abused, abducted, bastard, nurtured females. Straight away. When I'm powerful, then I'm not willing to understand any bastard Pakistani female now. They have to be my mates, even in their houses. And if they're not willing to become my mates, I'll construe the judgment in the Supreme Judicial Councils to let off their billing their capital stock inventories into the west side because of their low self-esteem to themselves. When they are not considering anyone, then why they are considering their self? The bastard Pakistani. When they are not considering anyone, why they are considering their self under section 2D? Here's I apply the subsas are section 2D here's I apply because they are under section 2D here's their females, their males are under here's under here's of sexes, under here's of income, under here's of expenses, but not to expand their self to the other side is the question now. When I said that their females, their males are under section 2D, here's apply them, confine them beyond the jails and kill them at sight at the judicial order. And if the public properties are being deferred because of the here's of the Pakistani inside their houses, and there is no one who is considering section 2D here's. So you have to consider section 2D here's. Enforcement of the Hudud Ordinance 1979 in Pakistan applied now. So, stay blessed.